by their name, by their screen name, by 2 things they can't believe they have done, and then additionally they're going to come up and tell you the best thing that they cannot believe that they did, alright? So it's just going to be like chock full of just really crazy confessions. For those of you who haven't been here before, I'll give you a little bit of an intro. So, basically this all started way back in high school. And I was 15 years old and I'm walking through my high school cafeteria and somehow got sucked into this Secret Santa gift exchange. Yeah. So I ended up getting a girl who didn't really know me, and she got me and she didn't know me as well. We got each other, it was good. So, everything came from clearance, everything was like forgiftable and incredibly impersonal, except when the day of the gift exchange came, she had given me one thing that I kind of liked, actually, and it was a journal. While I was in the mindset, I was like, what if I were to write in this journal every single day for a year? I've always liked writing, what if I tried to do it just to see if I could? And so I did. I started it December 24th, 2004, and I never stopped. So essentially what that means, that is 11 handwritten journals back to back, that is 10 years and one block later to do. And so what I ended up doing is I used to just kind of do it personally, and the next thing I knew, I found myself in New York City wanting to be a writer, and I wasn't sure how. So I picked up these, full-time job in the city doing writing, but it just didn't feel right. So I was like, well, maybe I can do something with these journals. So I started a blog, and it was called AllOfThePeople.com. And it was about all of the interesting, entertaining, and bizarre, and incredible people I met along the way, all captured in these journals. But then I wanted more, so I decided to do storytelling events where I would find amazing people in the city who would become such great friends to me, but I would also find new friends, whether that was like in a bar, like on the street, like through friends, to come and tell these crazy confessions that have kind of encompass the whole essence of this. So, that is what you're doing here with me tonight, and I could not be happier to see it go on. And that is the introduction to all of the people. So, to kick this off, I want to bring up my friend Andy, screen name Topeka Dog. And one thing we can't believe that Topeka Dog has done is, one, has both skinny dipped and double dipped with tortilla chips. And 2, spent the first 10 years of his life thinking that bisexuality has something to do with biology. So without further ado, let's bring up Topeka Dog.
Woo! Life is full of firsts. First day of school, first kiss, first heartbreak. This story is none of those things. This is just about the first time I ate a pop brownie. So, come along with me, if you will. Right. I was at the cusp of adulthood, the ripe young age of 18. Being 18 and having his first pop brownie, you can tell how much of a badass I was growing up. But my friend, we'll call him Jack. We're going to change names to protect the innocent. He is in law school. So Jack decided this was a great idea. He was much more versed in the realms of greenery than I was. And he thought it'd be a great idea if we dabbled in these and went to the local Cineplex. Why not? So, thankfully Jack knew a guy, and for just $10 down, we both got ourselves some lovely space cakes. So, we get in, we get to our seats, the lights go down, previews come up. And I'm not sure how many of you are well-versed as well in eating edibles. But when you figure out how much time it actually takes for them to kick in this case, it took about a drive to the movie theater, a 30-minute wait for a movie, and 10 previews. Because as soon as the opening credits started, those fuckers hit like a bolt of lightning. So we had 3, I just talked to my friends about this, and we had 3 major realizations while being stupid high during the hangover. The first one was an immense fear that at some point the movie would end and we would have to get up and walk out of the theater, which was fucking terrifying to us at the time. Number 2 was also a fear that we were all going to suffocate because we were laughing so hard there was not enough time for oxygen to go into our body because of how much of it was coming out with laughter. And number 3, this was the funniest movie we'd ever seen in our lives. And thankfully, the movie ended and we did successfully get up and walk out of the theater. And Jack and I at the time were like orbiting Neptune. Like, we were in that like what is going on with my hand phase of the highness. And for some reason Mike just did not seem as stoned as we were. So we're like, Mike, are you okay to drive? Yeah, I guess I'm okay. I don't know why it didn't really hit me. Yeah, man, I don't know. It sucks. But you're good. Yeah. Okay. So we get in the car. We pull up to the first light to get out of the mall. And Mike turns and looks at us and says, guys, I don't know if you know this. My steering wheel's fucking huge. Oh, Jesus. And at that point we realized we may die on the way home. We were convinced every car that was following us was a cop car. The speed at which trees were passing our car did not seem congruent with the speed at which the car was moving. And Fix You by Coldplay sounds like, quote, fireworks are going off in my brain. So, we successfully made it back to the neighborhood. We probably went 5 miles under the speed limit the whole way. It was raining, so we ran around in the rain, as responsible young children would do. Our lives, we realize now looking back, greatly mirrored a children's novel. But instead of if you give a mouse a cookie, it was if you give a bunch of teenagers edibles. But the same thing inevitably happens. Have a great fucking night.
Next up, we have Katie, screen name KT Guacamole. But when she was told that she had misspelled guacamole by a stranger, she got embarrassed and switched it to KT Pepperoni. So 2 things we can't believe that KT Pepperoni has done is once she danced so hard to the guy on the dance floor, she tore his ACL. And she still holds the push-up record at her middle school. Let's bring up KT Pepperoni.
She's a cat! I love pepperoni. It's delicious. I do too, obviously. Okay, hello everyone. Alright, so I have 2 disclaimers to my story. First, I know the theme of this is, I can't believe I just did that, but the theme of my story is, I can't believe she just did that. And the she, I'm not going to be as polite as Andy and, not say her name. Her name is Olivia Clark and she's sitting right there. So, basically, 2 of our friends were getting married in Charleston, South Carolina. So, of course, being the crew that we are, we decided to make a week out of it. An adult spring break, if you. And 10 days of debauchery and, shenanigans, just bring it back to our roots. So we all are on the same flight, this giant group, it's like 10 of us. We're on the same 8 a.m. flight out of JFK to Charleston, South Carolina. And naturally, all of us being on the Upper East Side, Kyle is asking if he wants to share a cab. So that's a nice thing to do. He's being a gentleman. And I look at Olivia and I'm like, Kyle just texted me and said, hey, do you want to share a cab? And I'm like, we're looking at each other and we've also are like 2 bottles of red wine deep while we're packing. And we're sitting there thinking, oh no, he's totally gonna be late. Like, no way, he's gonna hold us up. Let's not do this. So I text him back like, oh, actually we're just gonna head out straight from 77th, like, woo, spring break, yay, see you tomorrow. So he's fine with that, obviously. We finished the 3rd bottle of wine and I walked 6 blocks home and finished my unpacking. And then continued to set 4 alarms because you can't trust snooze and I just want to be safe. So our flight's at 8. I set it, I have to be there an hour early to check my bag. Takes an hour to get there. Need like 15, 30 minutes to get ready, whatever. So it's like 5, 5:15, 5:30, 5:45. Natural, right? Okay, so set my alarms. Then I drift off to my sweet dreams of sand, PBR, and hot dogs. And it's wonderful. And then the next thing I know, I wake up naturally, so that's not a good thing. And I look at my phone and it's 7:15. And our flight is at 8 a.m. out of JFK, and I immediately jump out and I'm like, what the fuck? Oh my god, what am I doing? And I'm just like running around my room, like no rhyme or reason, and I call, speed dial Olivia, call her, ring, 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 ring. Hi, you reached Olivia Clark. Can't get your message right now. Please leave your name and number and I'll call you back. So then I'm still like literally aimlessly walking around my apartment confused, and I call her again. Ring, ring, hello? I'm like, Olivia, you overslept too. Oh my God, it's 7:15. We're gonna miss our flight. What the fuck do you do? And she's like, fuck. Shit. Fuck. Just try and get in a cab. Just try and make it. Just do it. Just do it. And I'm like, okay. A whole 10 minutes later, I finally get in a cab. So I get in, I tell the cab driver, I'm like, listen, I'm completely screwed. I'm gonna miss my flight, but I need you to step on it, please, sir. And then I start to look up flights for Olivia and I, because I'm being, proactive. I'm like gonna get tickets because I know that we're not gonna make it. So I call Olivia, and I'm like, hey, I have 2 tickets in my cart. Should I buy these tickets? Like, we're not gonna fucking make it. We have 15 minutes to make this flight. And Olivia's like, oh, and there's like a lot of wrestling, and the cab, I hear like a man in the background, and she's like, hold on a second, wait, I'm pulling up to the terminal, hold on a second, I gotta go, I gotta call you back. And I'm like, what the fuck? How are you at JFK? I'm passing LaGuardia right now, this is ridiculous, that's not fair, and she hangs up. And by the time I get to the airport, it is 7:53, maybe? Flight's at 8, another reminder. And I get there, and I just like, I'm gonna probably need to get out of this chair to do this, demonstrate this. So I get there, and literally I walk over, and I'm just like, get out of the way, I gotta make a flight. They're holding a flight for me, and I've got Olivia on the phone, and she's like, I'm on the plane right now, and everyone's really shocked that I'm here, and I'm like, I literally hate you, and I don't know why I'm on the phone with you right now, but I'm trying to get there, so hold the fucking flight. So I get there, and I'm just like running through everyone, and I'm in my, put together outfit of my spandex and my baseball cap. And so then I'm just like freaking out, and everyone's looking at me, but I'm hysterical, and this guy comes over from the counter, and he looks at me, he comes over, and he goes, man, it's over. Long story short, she makes a flight because I woke her up, and I miss it, and I had to pay $500 to get on the next flight to make the wedding. The great thing is that my company ended up paying for it, so that's awesome. But the icing on the cake was that I arrived in Charleston like 20 Bloody Marys deep, and in my awesome spandex and my baseball cap, and I show up and walk out to the parking lot, and Olivia is standing there, still barefoot, pantless, braless, 2 sunglasses on her head, with a neon sign with dollar bills taped to it that says, oversleeping equals $500, but aren't you happy to see me?
So, our next storyteller is Nick. Screen name DOLLYLLAMA, pronounced Dalai Lama. One thing we can't believe Nick has done is he used to regularly engage in White Castle competitions, and his record is 20 sliders. And once he found over $1,000 in cash on the sidewalk and stared at it in disbelief for so long, just in time for someone else to come and pick it up. So without further ado, let's bring up Nick.
Yeah, Nick!
Woo! Yeah! How are we doing? Good. So for me, I can't believe I just did that. It's not so much a theme for tonight as it has been for most of my adult life. But this story is such an absurd string of bad decisions that I'm fairly sure that the formula to cold fusion lies somewhere in the chain reaction of disasters that led me to Times Square 4 years later, signing divorce papers next to a naked woman painted like the American flag. In 2010, I lived in a small 1-bedroom apartment on Classen Avenue in Brooklyn with my then girlfriend, who was named Alyssa, Well, sorry, she was also sometimes my fiance. It really depended on how many times she cheated on me that month. One night, after a number of drinks and a really bad fight, I finally realized that this was a horrible situation that I needed to get out of. And I told her that I was done, that I didn't deserve to be treated like that, and I was gonna leave. And she responded with, "You're breaking up with me? What the fuck did I do?" Which I thought was a pretty obvious answer. But I think that my body sensed the good decision making and immediately sent out a billion little bad idea antibodies to engulf the intelligence and just destroy it from within. Because the next thing that I did was to call the hot girl from work at 11:30 at night and say, "I just broke up with my girlfriend. I really got to get out of this apartment right now." She was like, "Yeah, totally, come over." So I'm on my way from Brooklyn to South Bronx at midnight, and I'm thinking to myself, is this really what I should be doing right now? Is this a good idea? And then I get off the train and I'm walking to her apartment and I'm thinking, am I making the right decision right now? And then she opened the door and I'm thinking, what was the question again? And she just looked at me with these great big eyes that were so supportive. Anyway, this was Friday. I spent the next couple days staying with Bonnie, her name's Bonnie, while Alyssa found a new place to live and then moved out. That Tuesday night, Bonnie and I went out drinking with some coworkers, and shared the great news, and everyone was like, "Oh, Nick, I'm so glad you got out of that relationship. It was really bad. Bonnie's so much better for you." And to which we were like, "Yeah, I know, it's awesome. Everything's great." A few people were like, "Don't you think it's a little quick?" To which we responded, "You don't know us. We're perfect for each other." And in the cab on the way home, we decided we were perfect for each other. I mean, hell, she had helped me find my wallet that I had lost under the cab driver's seat on the way home. I opened the window and she thought she was going to throw up to give her some fresh air. Real romantic type stuff. And at that point, I looked at her hair blowing in the wind, drool running down her cheek. And I said, "Bonnie, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe we're crazy. Maybe we're crazy, but I think I love you." Now, I don't think there's a sane woman in this room who would not leave me in the breakdown lane of the West Side Highway right at that moment. But her response was, "You know what? I love you too. We should get married." That's crazy. I mean, we had just had our first kiss the Friday prior. I had just gotten out of a 2-year relationship. And so I looked at her and I said, "Of course we should get married. We should get married tomorrow." So on Friday, October 29th, 2010, 1 week to the day after Bonnie and I had started dating, we got married at the Manhattan City Clerk's office, surrounded by 2 of our kind of acquaintances. And it lasted, and it was good for about 6.5 months, when she went to California to go visit her brother for about a week, and while she was gone, I got a text message that said, "We need to talk." It was from Alyssa. And so I responded very curtly, "What do you want?" She told me that she had heard I was married. She thought I was crazy, but she was happy I was doing well. She told me that she was so sorry that she had hurt me both emotionally and physically. She told me that she missed me and she wanted, and she wished she could have done it differently. And then, in a move of self-sabotage so clear that it almost seems on purpose, I said, "Well, why don't you come over and have a drink? As friends." I had never done anything like that before, and I've never done anything like that since. And the feeling of guilt that I woke up with the next morning and every day since has cut through me like a cancer. And when Bonnie came home, I told her what happened, and she told me that she loved me and that we could work through it. And I said, no. No. I didn't deserve her after that, and she didn't deserve what I had done to her, and that was it. I don't believe in regret a lot. I think that the mistakes that we make, they help us grow, we learn from them, and regret is usually a waste of time, but I regret that. Not because I think that Bonnie and I would have stayed together. There were a billion reasons why that would never have worked out. But because no one deserves that kind of betrayal. I didn't deserve it at Alyssa's hands, and she didn't deserve it at mine. And it was over. In New York, you can only get divorced if someone is willing to claim irreparable fault on the other party, or if you're separated for a year. Neither of us wanted to claim irreparable fault on the other party, so we filed for separation in June. And then the following June, our tan lines had faded from our ring fingers, and we kind of forgot about it. Well, I don't know if we forgot about it or if we're blocking it out, probably the latter. And whenever we did remember, something came up financially or otherwise, and it took 3 more years before I found myself this past July at a Starbucks in Times Square being served divorce papers while a woman outside was passing out flyers in body paint for a 4th of July sale. I don't know why it took me that long to finalize it. I think that it's because I needed to grow up first. I think it's because I needed to be the kind of person who understood what marriage was before I was going to end one. I think it's because I didn't want the answer to what did I just do to be, I don't know. Thank you.
So yeah, so without further ado, I'm going to bring up my next storyteller to continue this event, and his name is Jim, and when I asked him what his screen name was, he asked me, what's his screen name? 2 things that Jim cannot believe that he has done is, 1, he spent a month on tour with the Motley Crue, and 2, he recently went to the border of North and South Korea.
Woo!
Jim. Oh, Jim is also a comedian in the city, and he teaches comedy classes at Gotham Comedy Club, so fun fact.
Go, Jim!
Yeah!
Woo!
Hey, can you clap for all the other storytellers? Can you show them some love? Yeah. This story is about the shit you can't believe you did as an adult when you were a child. Because at 12 years old, I ran away from home. And I think we all run away from home at some point. And that's not an extreme thing, but when you ran away from home, where'd you get? Grandma's house? Maybe down the street, got a cookie? I grew up on 78th Street, New York Avenue in Manhattan, and when I ran away, I got to Mexico. I'd like to repeat that. I ran away to Mexico, where I stayed for a month. You know what it means if you run away to Mexico as a 12-year-old and you stay for a month? It means your parents weren't fucking looking. That's what it means. It means they got up one day and they went, it's a lot quieter here. Don't rock the boat. I'll tell you the story of how I got to Mexico. I was one of them weird reader kids. You know those kids? There's the little kids and there's some that are extra. I was a reader. And at 10, I read On the Road by Jack Kerouac. And 10-year-old mind should never read On the Road. First of all, I didn't understand half the fucking thing. And the other half I just misinterpreted. So he talked about going to Mexico and hopping a freight train. And I, as a reader, said, I am going to do that. So I went to the New York Public Library and researched train schedules to find freight trains. And then it did exactly what the book said, which is hop a southbound freight train, take it into Texas, look for a train with Spanish writing on it, get on board, and before you know it, you'll be in Mexico. In the book, it took 3 pages. On the freight train, it took 8 days. That is not a good exchange rate. 3 pages should not equal 8 days. And I stayed there, for a month. I did odd jobs going up and down the coast. I didn't speak any Spanish, so I just, whenever somebody talked, I would nod. I would nod yes for everything if they said it in a pleasant voice, and I would not know if they said something in an angry voice. So I must have looked like the little retarded child wandering around the village. So I get all the way down there, and I finally, you know, I'm wandering around, I make it up to Acapulco, and I get caught because somebody on the beach in Acapulco yelled, "Hey Jim," which is my name. I turned around, a cop saw me turn around, put two and two together, and I got picked up. Here's how bad it was. I am still, to this day, the only white person I ever know to get deported from Mexico. That's a feat. That's actually on my resume at this point. So I get deported, and they tell me not to do it again. They actually made my dad send money so they could put me on a plane to fly me back to New York. I get back to New York, and of course, you're dealing with the anger of your family, and you would think that would be the end of it, and it was till I was 14, and I ran away to Mexico for a second time. But this time I was smart. I knew the freight train would suck, so I saved up money, and I took a Greyhound bus, which is, if you want to know, a 9-day trip into Mexico. Now I make it all the way down there, and I'm in Mexico, and I did, this time I did Monterrey, Mexico, and Mexico City. And Mexico City is just like any city you'd see here in the United States. It's big, it's crowded, a whole lot of Mexican people working, except there, nobody gets pissed if they speak Spanish. And that time I made it back and I came across the border of my own volition. So I'm there like, I got this out of my system, good. And then I turned 15. And the summer came. And apparently I had summer plans. So the third time, me and my best friend stole a car and drove down to Mexico. Yeah, apparently, at this point, you gotta blame the border guards, because when they see me come across, they should know at this point. And I make it all the way down to Juarez, Mexico, which has the distinction of being the most dangerous city in the world. That's the distinction of Juarez, Mexico. The most dangerous city in the world. Do you know what that means? That means there are people standing in Beirut going, at least it's not Juarez. That's what it means. So I make it down to Juarez, and I'm alone by this time because my friend, when we got to Washington, D.C., panicked, chickened out, and took a train back. So I hopped a cab, and I said to the cab driver, "Hey, I want to see a show." And the guy goes, "Oh, you want to see the ladies?" And they're like, "No, not like that." He goes, "You want to go to Boys Town?" So apparently those are the only two options. So they're like, "No, dude, I want to see something you cannot see in the United States." And he goes, "I got you." That is the single most frightening phrase on the planet. And we pull up to a bar, and the lock's unlocked, and I'm thinking, okay, there's a wood chipper in there, this is how I'm going. And he goes, "Here you go, here's the show." And I'm like, "What show? It's a barn." He goes, "There's a donkey show." So they do the whole thing, and I'm not gonna give you the gory details of the show. You can figure that out, or later on come see me, I got DVDs. But I'm there like, when it's finished, I get back to the cab, and the cab driver goes, is that good? And they're like, "No, man, I wanted to see like a real show." And so I said, "Is that like a bullfighting ring?" And the guy goes, "Oh yeah, we got one in Juarez." And I go there, and it's not the big, beautiful bullfighting ring that they had in Monterrey. It's basically the saddest little stadium I've ever seen. Let me put it to you this way, the barn was much more impressive. And it wasn't even like real matadors. It was like special needs matadors. Matadors that couldn't make the height requirements in other bullfighting rings. It wasn't even bulls, it was like angry cows with calcium deposits on their head. Miserable animals that were ready to take their own lives. And here's how sad it was. You paid like $10 to get in. For an extra $20 after they killed the cow, they would actually hibachi it right in front of you. That is how sad it was. But here's the whole thing. I got deported again that time. I got caught again. And this time, they actually said you can never come back to Mexico. Which was one of the saddest things in the world. Until I turned 17 and I found myself in Tijuana. Because, you know, old habits die fucking hard.
Storyteller is my friend Joe, screen name completely random 7. One thing you do not know about Joe that he cannot believe he has done is he once played a rap rooster in a school play, and his name was Cockadoodle Dandy. And once he got so drunk, he sat beneath a light post in the winter and told passersby that he was going to Narnia and they should please come with. So without further ado, let's bring up Joe.
Yeah, Joe!
Yeah.
Woo! Yeah, Joe!
Thank you for that smattering of applause. How's everybody doing out there? Woo!
what's going on, Cake Shop? I'm digging it. I'm digging the energy. I'm digging the chill-ass vibe. I'm loving it. So, a couple months ago, I did something that I haven't done in a very long time. I got a real job.
Good job!
Because actually what I do here in the city is I'm an actor, and so I actually got a 9-to-5 job. I was teaching children theater, and it was very exciting. But then I got into a show, which I was very excited about because I love to perform. And it also helped because I was in this show with 3 of my very close friends. You have my best friend in the entire city. Her name is Kate. You have her boyfriend of a very long time, who's also a very dear friend of mine, Jeremy. And another buddy of mine who I met at a bar very randomly, but we became very close friends, Brennan. And we were in the show together, and we were very, very excited about it. It was just so cool, because we never get to work together. And I don't know if people know much about theater and what we do and all that shenanigans, but right around the opening week of the show, we had to perform every night. And I still had my job 9 to 5 every day. And as many of you who have jobs, you know, once you're done with your job and you're tired, and, you know, what do you like to do when you finish work? You like to go out and get a couple of drinks, right? You know, just to take the edge off, hang out. And that's what we like to do, you know, after a rehearsal or a performance. And so we were doing that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and it gets to Wednesday. And I should also preface this by the fact that not only did we just go out, because, you know, sometimes when you go after work, you go out and you're like, oh yeah, we'll go out for a couple of drinks, and you go out for a few, and you're home by, you know, like 6, 7 o'clock, you know, right? That's all because you got work the next day, right? You know what I'm saying. We got out of our thing around, like, you know, 10 o'clock, so you would figure, you know, we'll be home by 11, right? I got home every night at like 3 in the morning, and I had work at 9. Yay, me! So, we get to the Thursday of after we opened, and I pulled my friend Brennan aside. I'm like, Brennan, man, I don't think I can do this. I mean, I'm exhausted, bro. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. And he looks at me straight in the eye and he goes, you know what, Joe? I kind of agree with you, but here's the thing. We've been having a perfect game all week, and I think that we should maybe just keep it going. Are you serious right now? Yeah, I think it's a good idea. You know, we just keep going. And then my friend Kate goes over and she goes, Joe, let's do this. Come on, Joe, come on. And Jeremy just stares at me and is like, hey man, you know you want to drink. I'm like, God damn it, fine. So we go out, and like I said, I've been working, we have the show, I'm exhausted. We're at the bar, we're having a couple of drinks. This next part was retold to me by my friends because I don't honestly remember this. I fell asleep. I passed out, snoring in the bar, like dead to the fucking world. And my friends, being the kind-hearted people they are, you know, they took pictures of me, they made funny faces with me, because that's just how friends are, you know what I mean? You guys know what I'm saying. You would do that to your friends, right? That's a good thing to do. Bunch of jackasses. Anyway, so they were messing around with me when I'm passed out, and these 2 guys walked by while we're in the bar, and they were, in a word, douchebags. Your typical New York douchebags, and they're staring at me like, oh, this guy's asleep at the bar, let's take a picture of him. And my friends, being very protective of me, were like, hey guys, you know, be cool, he's our friend, we can fuck with him, you can't, come on, don't be a jackass. And then they turn around, and actually they didn't even turn around. Next thing they hear these words coming out of the mouth. They hear, no! What you won't do! They turn around, they see me, eyes wide open. I'm like, just staring at these 2 gentlemen. I'm like, you will not take my picture, you do not know me! You cannot come up in here and just take my picture, you are not friends with me! I will take that phone and I will shove it so far down your throat. I'm like just going off. My friends are a mixture of horror and laughter because they don't know what to do. They thought I was dead to the world. They did not realize I just was fuck. And so we go outside and they're just like, holy shit, Joe. And my friend Brendan's like, yeah, rally, Joe's about to rally right now. You wanna keep going? You wanna keep going? I'm like, let's fucking do this. And that was what became known as the Summer of Rally. But the whole point of the story, guys, is that through these misadventures I had with my buddies, that I basically, they are no longer my friends. They actually are my family, and I don't know what I would do without them. I don't know how I could get through this crazy thing called New York without these people. So, word of the wise, if you slap your friends in the face, you may make friends for life. Just saying. Have a great night, guys.
So I'm finally going to bring to the stage my roommate, Olivia, who Katie talked about earlier in her story. But before I do, you need to know that her screen name is Ollie Wally 3. And two things that you do not know about her is one, she made out with a real pirate for $20. And two, she once challenged a homeless guy in the subway station in Union Square to a dance-off, and she did not win. So without further ado, I would like to bring up Olivia.
So this happened in high school. And to that, I thought I'd give you a little bit of background about what was going on during high school. So there's some Knoxville people in the house. What up, Caroline? But I grew up in the metropolis known as Knoxville, Tennessee. It's pretty comparable to New York, except that it's not. And a few quick fun facts about my high school, just to try to paint a little bit of a picture for you guys. At homecoming 2010, there was a stabbing. I wasn't involved. There wasn't any deaths, but okay, so that happened. Throughout senior year, we had a 3-part mini-series called Meth is Death, in which they taught us all of the dangers of ingesting meth, and subsequently, so I don't know if they did this on purpose, but they taught us how to make meth. And then thirdly, in February of my senior year as well, the captain of the ROTC was arrested for making members of the ROTC do naked push-ups for cigarette breaks. So that was West High School in Knoxville, Tennessee. And as for me at that time, I was pretty awesome. You know, I was like on the soccer team, I was like driving a yellow bug, like really fucking cool. It's like me and my girlfriend, you know. And it was good, you know. So
You were killing it.
I was killing it. Just like, yeah. So Christmas time came around, and I had this rogue, like, wild card of a friend named Brian, and Brian is to this day one of my best friends, but he's also just a little bit off the wall, which we love him for it. At my senior year state soccer championship, he actually streaked across the field wearing a Scream mask. If that gives you guys any indication. So he calls me one day and he says, Olivia, can you come over to my house? I have to give you your Christmas present. And I was like, sure, like, that sounds great. So I drive over to Brian's house in my yellow bug, which, by the way, huge mistake, but anyways. So I go over to Brian's house, and he has given me 3 presents. One was a hermit crab named Hermione. Okay, you know, okay, we get it. The second was a teddy bear that was the size of an actual grizzly bear. So it was like, I think it was like 7 feet tall if you stood it up. And then the third was a lighter, which didn't really make sense because I didn't smoke. But it wasn't just any lighter, it was a lighter that just looked like a dildo. So I leave a little bit confused, me and Hermie, in my bug, and I head back to my house, and my parents say, how was Brian's? And I say, it was great. And so I just put this dick, it was a dick, it wasn't a lighter, it was a dick, in the center console of my car, and just kind of like, forget about it. So I'm at, you know, like, winter turns into spring, like, it's prom, and like, everything's so awesome, like, everybody's going to college, like, I'm in my bug, in the sunshine, and I'm at school, and like, we're all eating outside, lunch, it's seniors, so cool, and, you know, periodically the drug dogs would come to West High, and, you know, everybody would have to be in lockdown, and we'd all have to like sit in our classrooms while the drug dogs searched shit. You guys, does everybody not know? Nobody else went through this? No? Okay, cool. So yeah, the drug dogs were searching, and so we were just all chilling. And I hear over the intercom, the whole school, about 1,600 kids, Olivia Clark, please report to your car. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? So, like I said, I got good grades. I was on the soccer team. It was so cool. I go out, and there's 4 police officers and 2 of the principals there. 2 principals. One was this guy who actually was really involved in the soccer team. He's my friend, and then this other was Miss Fielden. And Miss Fielden, she was in charge of like breaking up the fights. Like she was, she was tough. You know what I'm saying? And so there's 4 cops, and Miss Fielden and Mr. Walker were like, Olivia, do you have drugs in your car? I was like, no, I don't. And they're like, look, officers, we trust her. Like we know her. She doesn't have drugs in the car. And they're like, that's totally fine, but like we need to search it anyways. And I'm like, oh, I don't care. We're just hanging out. So then after about 3 minutes, it hits me, what the fuck is in my car? I'm like, there's a penis in the car. So as it's hitting me, the cop who's searching pulls out the penis, mind you, and says to me, does your daddy know you have this? And I said, that's not mine. He said, whose is it? I said, it was a gift. Eventually, they're like, just go back to class. Like, just get out of here. They're disgusted. They're disgusted with me. This police officer is like throwing up, about to pull his own daughter out of school. So I go back to my lunch table and I'm like, oh my god, guys, guess what just happened? Like, you remember, like, Dick Brian gave me. My friends are like, tee, everything's so funny. Whatever. I go back to chemistry class, and I like walk into chemistry class after lunch, and my teacher's looking at me, and she just looks at me and goes, and I'm like, there's no way she knows. And she's just looking at me and shaking her head, like eye contact, like, oh, Olivia, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And I'm like, oh god. So I'm like kind of a little nervous, class ends. I go down to my locker with all my friends again, everything's so happy. There is a pack of 12 teachers, and they're all staring and pointing and laughing at me. It's not sad, it's hilarious. I had a dick in my car. And they're just like, is this bitch serious? Like, and I'm like, oh my god. And my friend Taryn looks at me and says, I think they know. I said, I think they do too.
So I'm sitting there and I walk out and I still have this pumpkin. And I'm in this, I'm in I'm in a dress and I'm in these maybe 5-inch heels. And when I Google mapped it, I could go 2 ways. I could either walk straight, Tompkins Square Park. I could either walk straight through the park and just get there really quick in 5 minutes. Or, I could go around and, get there in 10 minutes. So it's pitch dark outside, I'm completely alone. I'm laughing in hysterics by myself, completely unsupervised. So I do, what anybody would do, and I was like, I'm going into the park. And it's 11:59 p.m. and I'm with my belongings, and there's nobody else in sight, and I just start to walk. So as I'm starting to walk, I'm like, okay, well all I have to really do is just walk straight. Because if I walk straight, then, I can't get lost. So I'm walking, and the more I get into this park, I'm really starting to realize there is not a singular soul in this park, with the exception of maybe 3 stragglers that also probably shouldn't be there, maybe 2 stray dogs, and then me. And it's dressed in these heels, and I'm marching along, and as I start to get closer to the gate on the other side, I can see something on the gate, but I'm not sure what it is, and I'm kind of like this, I'm a little bit scared, and I get to the other side, and what I see is a huge chain bolt lock on that side, and I was like, oh no. So I get to that side, and I'm like, okay, it's okay. I was like, I'll just turn around and go back to where I came from, quick fix, right? Joke's on you, right? So I turn around, and I start marching back, stragglers, dogs, and I get to the other side, but then something's different. Something's different about this side of the park. This fence that I just come from, this entrance, was also locked with a chain. And then right next to where this fence was, it says closing hours, 12 a.m. midnight. I walked in at 11:59 p.m. I was locked inside of this park completely by myself, completely drunk, and nowhere to go. So, I phoned a friend, 2 states away. I phoned a friend, I'm like, hey, like, it's me. And I'm like, hey, like, what's going on? And I was like, well, I'm in a park. I'm like, that's nice, that's pleasant. I'm like, it would be, yeah, you would think. I was like, I'm alone. They're like, interesting. You're alone in a park at midnight. I'm like, true. They're like, do you know your own name? I was like, barely. They're like, all right, cool. And I was like, shh, wait, hold on. Shit. They're like, what's going on? I was like, shh, shh, shh. They're like, what's going on? I was like, there are 3 men walking towards me. I was like, they're like, what? I'm like, shut up, shut up. I can handle this. They're like, what do you mean? Like, you can't handle this. I'm like, got this. I got this. They're like, no, like, what are you doing? Like, what do you mean? Like, you can't do this. I'm like, oh, I can do this. And then I say like nothing. And just like ready this. And then all of a sudden I hear like on the phone like, hello? Olive, hello? Hello? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, where'd you go? I'm like, I took care of it. You're like, you took care of it? I'm like, it's all done. It's done. We're good. Like, okay. And it wasn't until like the very next day, this conversation continued, but it wasn't until the very next day that I told my friend that at that moment I was just like tired. And so I just like sat down next to this azalea bush, like Indian style, and I was like, dude, there's 2 men coming towards me, like, that's so crazy. And like I made my friend 2 states over, just like panicked, like there was like no men, there were no vans, like there was like nothing. I was like hallucinating and just like making up stories and just like terrifying people along the way. Yeah, I'm a good friend to have. So then, at that time, they're like, go back to like the present time. I'm like, well, okay, well you still need to get out of the park. I'm like, this is true information. Like, well, why don't you have you tried climbing the fence? And I was like, climb the fence? Has anyone seen Zoolander? Where they like break the computer? Those are kind of those things.
The files are in the computer.
The files are in the computer. So I was like, climb the fence. So I go back to like God knows which fence, one that was locked, clearly. And I do, and I walk over and I take all the expensive things that I have like in my purse and I just like toss them over to the other side, completely creating a barrier between me and everything that I need. And I was like, here we go! And I like toss them over. I'm like, I'm gonna climb. And I'm on these like 5, and I'm on these like heels with stress, and I just start like climbing like a little bit, and like I did like 17 years of gymnastics, so like that helped like a little bit, but like not really. And so you could I wish I could like have captured the picture, like the faces of the people on the other side of this fence. Nobody helped. Lots of pictures, lots of footage of me out there like doing this, and they're all like, oh my god, like this girl, and I'm just like hovering. I'm just like hovering at the top, and I'm like, okay, all right, good idea in theory, and like my friend's like still on the phone. So I decided at the top of this fence, I was like, I'm gonna jump. I'm just gonna jump. And so I did, and I had a perfect landing on my face. I completely jumped on it, and I like completely face planted, but I got up, and I went to go meet my friends. And they're like, hey, like, I thought you left like a while ago. I'm like, did I? Was that a while ago? I was like, yeah, where have you been? And I was like, I've been here. Nothing weird happened at all. And to this day, it was like one story that I never, ever thought that I would tell. And then 2 years later, I changed my damn mind. So, that is it. That is our storytelling event tonight. In the back. And I always bring this up because not everyone gets it right away. This is a bear and like a deer, and in the middle is a deer. And what we've done with this merchandise in the past is if you pick it up, it's all free, like take it if you want. And people have like been taking pictures of it and sending it to me, and we have a whole like online reel online of people all around the world taking pictures of the merchandise. So help yourselves. Thank you so much for coming and have an excellent night.